theories
of the third kind.
Welcome. First off, I want to say thank you to whomever you are listening for opening your minds to receive extra knowledge nuggies each and every week. It means a lot to all of us, and I want to let you know that.
Also, before we start, since you, yes you, whomever you are, you're a Patreon subscriber. And remember that you get priority in topic suggestions. So feel free to shoot those suggestions over to us either by email, Instagram DM, Twitter DM, or Facebook DM. Or Discord DM too. Just saying if you're part of the Discord.
That's right. So today's episode is over the 37th parallel. How today's episode will go is that we'll first, go into the history of how the 37th parallel came to be. And then we'll go over some cases that have happened on the 37th parallel. Then hop into some, strange facts and findings, then into theories, and then into our own personal thoughts and theories. So with that being said, let's get into today's episode. Drop a pin at the Atlantic coast between Virginia and North Carolina. Now take that pin and draw a line all the way to San Jose, California. From sea to shining sea, this line crosses America. Yet it's riddled with cattle mutilations, UFOs, sacred Native American burial grounds, and even underground military bases. This paranormal UFO highway is what they call the 37th parallel.
So just like with every topic each week, we're going to start off with where this all began. Now, like Dan said, this 37th parallel starts from Santa Cruz, California, and spans all the way across America like a straight line, and it ends up in Virginia at the Chesapeake Bay. This line on the map, of course, is what they call the 37th parallel, and it is littered with histories of cattle mutilations, UFO sightings, reports of underground military bases, and even ancient Native American sacred sites.
Now, before it was even called the 37th parallel, or paranormal highway, or the UFO highway, or even became, mainstream, many strange things had already been occurring there for the past hundreds of years. The earliest report came in the 1800s from indigenous people on the Trail of Tears in two different states, of Missouri and Oklahoma. These native people saw what they described as an orange fire-like ball that was hovering in the sky before disappearing.
This wasn't the only account that occurred in the 1800s. On June 1st of 1853, at Burritt College in Tennessee, many students there reportedly saw luminous objects in the sky. These objects did not move for 30 minutes, but expanded and contracted in size several times.
There were even more reports surfacing, like the one in July of 1860, where multiple residents in Wilmington, Delaware, saw the sky fill with a pale blue light as a large object moved overhead. It was followed by 3 red glowing round objects. Now, even in the late 1890s, mystery airships were being reported in Arkansas, Nebraska, Missouri, Texas, Kansas, and even in Kentucky.
Then, on April 23rd, 1897, a farmer named Alexander Hamilton, kind of like the guy on the $10 bill, but not really, he experienced a phenomenal event in Leroy, Kansas. This Alexander Hamilton decided to publish a story in the local newspaper of what happened. Of course, the local newspaper was hesitant to publish the story because they thought he was lying. But to prove that it actually happened, Alexander signed an affidavit that was notarized by 10 notable members of the community of Leroy, Kansas. The affidavit was dated April 21st, 1897, and Hamilton staked his sacred honor on the truth of the event. This event starts off with,
Last Monday night, about 10:30, we were awakened by a noise among the cattle. I arose thinking that perhaps my dog was messing with the cattle. But upon going to the door, I saw to my astonishment that an airship was slowly descending upon my cow lot, about 600 feet from my house. Calling my tenant, Gid Heslip, and my son Wall, we seized some axes and ran to the corral.
Meanwhile, the ship had been gently descending until it was not more than 30 feet above the ground, and we came within 50 yards of it. It consisted of a great cigar-shaped portion, possibly 300 feet long, with a carriage underneath. The carriage was made of glass or some other transparent substance alternating with a narrow strip of some material.
it was brightly illuminated within, and everything was plainly visible. It was occupied by 6 of the strangest beings I ever saw. They were jabbering together, but we could not understand a word they said. Every part of this vessel, which was not transparent, was a dark, reddish color.
We stood mute with wonder and fright. Then some noise attracted their attention, and they turned a light directly upon us. Immediately on catching sight of us, they turned on some unknown power in a great turbine wheel about 30 feet in diameter, which was revolving slowly below the craft, began to buzz, and the vessel rose lightly as a bird.
When about 300 feet above us, it seemed to pause and to hover directly above a 2-year-old heifer, which was bawling and jumping, apparently fast in the fence. Going to her, we found some material fastened in a slip knot around her neck, and going up to the vessel from the heifer tangled in the wire fence. We tried to get it off, but could not, so we cut the wire loose to see the ship, heifer and all, rise slowly, disappearing in the northwest.
At least they know how to do a slip knot.
Right? I shoved my fingers into my eyes.
Nice.
What do you think the aliens thought? Like, they were just like, bro, we got the cloaking capability on. They'd look to see these fucking farmers with axes. Like, God damn it, Jenkins! Fuck! Grab the nearest cow. We gotta go. We went home, but I was so frightened I could not sleep. Rising early Tuesday, I started out on my horse, hoping to find some trace of my cow. This I failed to do, but coming back in the evening, found that Link Thomas, about 3 or 4 miles west of Leroy, had found the hide, legs, and head of my cow in his field that day.
Well, dang.
Right?
They got the cow.
That's where Men in Black got that shit from, when he took the farmer's skin.
Ah.
Sugar water.
So that was one of the earliest reports of cattle mutilation. And of course, it was right on the 37th parallel. Now, cattle mutilation started occurring more frequently over the next few years. However, it really ramped up in the 1970s.
In Kansas, thousands of cattle turned up dead, enough that there was an FBI investigation in 1975. The mutilations were making mainstream news. The March 2nd, 1975 edition of the New York Times reported that ranchers along the Texas and Oklahoma border believed the relentless mutilations were the work of satanic cults. Further west in New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, Utah, and Nevada, these mutilations became so common that most of them went unreported. Now, if they went unreported, how did they know that they were occurring? That's my question.
Maybe it was like, it's a small town. Everybody goes to that diner. And it's like, hey, George. Hey, Philip. You find another cow with its asshole missing and eyes sucked out? Yeah. Bummer.
Yeah, true.
And
Okay.
they sip their coffee and they're like, just another day in paradise. Now, at this time, no one started to connect the mutilations, UFO sightings, abductions, and paranormal activity, or anything like that to the 37th parallel. That was until September 15th, 2011. So, an individual named Chuck Zukowski in September of 2011 did a press release on what he called his 37-degree latitude theory.
Chuck started to see a pattern of mutilation cases and UFO sightings not only in Colorado, but in other states as well. He focused on the 37-degree latitude because of its associations with some pretty interesting places and past events occurring along that stretch. What his trigger point or light bulb moment was, in 2011, while seeing a pattern between UFO and mutilation cases in Colorado and comparing them to similar cases in Missouri, Colorado had an earthquake.
While looking into it, he saw that the earthquake occurred at the Sangre de Cristo Fault, and the coordinates were 37 latitude and negative 104 longitude. Then, within 15 hours, another very shallow earthquake occurred, but not in Colorado. This one was over 1,600 miles away. Now, this Virginia earthquake occurred at the Central Virginia Seismic Zone. Its coordinates were 37 latitude and negative 77 longitude. Two separate faults perpendicular to each other, causing two separate shallow earthquakes 1,600 miles away from each other.
Let me just say that I survived the Virginia earthquake of 2011. It was very, very scary. My lawn chair fell over, okay? It fell over, and that was it.
Have you ever been in an earthquake, Aaron?
Yep. I went to Maui for like a week for vacation, and I was up in the mountains in a cabin, and I woke up to an earthquake.
I was in the Army, and I thought my roommate was just fucking with me. Like shaking my bed, so I kicked the bedpost. Shut the fuck